What's up, everyone? Today we're doing an account takeover for rebuilding a clan boss team for one of our clanmates. So let's see what we got. First thing I like to look at here is the Great Hall. Pretty decent Great Hall. No bronze, which is always good. We got a couple of 10s here for magic. Crit damage, good accuracy, which is pretty decent. And looks like we got defense and crit damage on almost everyone. Gives us some good damage. If we got a Maneater, Painkeeper, any type of Void DD, could be improved. I think, we're looking for clan boss specifically. We can look at attack. If we're going unkillable, we're going to need defense and HP. If we're going to need to go more infinity based. We don't really need resistance for clan boss, but accuracy definitely helps. You get a maxed out accuracy. You're getting 80 accuracy, which is pretty much a banner. What's a banner? 96. You're almost getting a free banner by getting an accuracy to level 10. So that's pretty decent. Let's see what we got going on here. I do got a key to work with, which is good. So 3 keys with a team like this. Martyr, Razin. We got double counter attacks, which kind of counter each other out. Tyrants there for, I'm assuming, ally protect and burns, and then we got some stuns and decrease attack. Really is all that he's there for, and some damage. So it was spirit. So we got 2 weak affinities here, 2 weak affinities in Razin. Maybe that's why the damage was so low. 3 keys on 60 mil. You need 70 to get the top chest. I'm going to use that last key for Ultra Nightmare. We'll see what happens. But let's try now and see what kind of champs we got to work with. And how we're going to tweak this clan boss team. So we do have a Maneater, which is great. Good to see. We do got most masteries. Would like to see a little more masteries. Low healing, decreased damage. We're going to want to get counter attack. Actually, if we pull Martyr in, we may not need counter attack. So we're going to want attack. Let's just get that out of the way. 350. We're going to get War Master, and Martyr will be, or Maneater will be pretty decent. Do we have a second one? We do have a Painkeeper, so that's good. We can do a budget unkillable team. Maybe that's the team we will build then. A budget unkillable team. What we got in the vault? We do get a Geomancer. Okay, we'll take him out. That's already what I'm... We have an unbuilt Annex. Annex would be a good poisoner. We only have 1 Maneater at the end of the day. So Annex would be a decent option. Let's see if we have a higher one, if I missed it earlier. Don't look like it. Martyr with counterattack is kind of redundant, so I might rebuild these masteries. Makes sense for how she's currently. You want the decreased damage on a team like this, but if we're going to put her in an unkillable team, then we're going to go support instead, and then make sure we get Grim Resolve on top of that. So that would be 1. Maneater, let's make sure skills are booked. They are. Okay, that's good. Whoops. Ideally, what I would bring in a mix like this would be a poisoner, like an Occult Brawler. Would be perfect at this. Because he's bringing A1 poisons. Venom Mage could work being a poisoner with this skill here. Puts out 2 poisons here and then attacks the 2 poisons and has that additional chance. Keeps a turn meter, or keeps the buff bar low by having this. And then a decreased attack and defense. You don't really, if you're going to bring a Geomancer in, I would have ideally liked him to be 60. We don't necessarily need that booked. That's fine. Ideally to be 60 with all these champions, but we can make them work the way they are. Geomancer does need some accuracy, which is good, but we're going to rebuild them all. Feign is also another good option for this poison here, placing the 2 poisons on a 3-turn cooldown, decrease defense and weaken, which we don't really need, but it's a triple hitter, and then a double hitter A1 with some damage. So the thing with a team like this is if you're going to go with an unkillable team, you want to get hit as hard as you can. And that way Geomancer does the most amount of damage on his passive, which is reflecting the damage that your team takes, right? Same thing, we would want these booked out. So what I'm going to do is we're going to try and just see if we can get to 50 turns. With a team like this, let's see how much damage we can actually do. I think we can get more than 20 mil in the last key that we have, which would put us to the 70 mil, or it put us to 80 mil from what he has, but 3 keys on 60 mil. The boss currently is Spirit. So what I might have to do is Weak Affinity, which is actually perfect. Geo would be taking bring a different... Actually, no, because Geo would be taking the Stun Eater, and we actually don't want Geo to be the slow champion. So I'll move me out of the way just so we have space to see. So we're going to go with an ultimate budget unkillable team, and the benefit of an ultimate budget unkillable team is that right there, you don't have to gear swap no more. So the original budget unkillable team, when you were killing Nightmare, you had to switch out one piece of your gear, which constantly costed you about 100, 200k a day just to get the right pieces and to get the right speed in order to get your slow boy proper for Nightmare. With this setup, it's a little higher of a requirement up to the top and throughout, but you don't need to swap gears, and it's the same team the whole time. The other benefit of a team like this is, although we're going 1-to-1 for the most part, the Painkeeper on the team gets that added skill refresh skill that goes up on the A3 and allows the other damage dealers to get their skills back up quicker. So if we're thinking about, Geomancer, for example, burns up, burns down. In this case, I'm going to have to make him the slow boy, just because the boss is currently on Spirit. I'm going to do it. Painkeeper is going to allow us to get that burn back up quicker. And so that way I should hopefully always have that burn up when I need it, which is right after the stun. So what does this actually look like? Okay, so it's already pre-set up here. All our champions are booked. So Maneater will be the faster at 256. He'll go first. We're going to go right away and pop the Ultra Nightmare. So we're going to start off with that unkillable. Painkeeper, we're going to use an A1, then a heal, back to an A1 before we auto. So A1, we're going to heal, A1 again, and then we're going to auto, which means Painkeeper is going to use that A3 here. Let's leave Feign in. I mean, she's 50 right now and unmastered, but let's leave her in just as a damage dealer. We're going to put Martyr in here. And our slow boy will be Geomancer. Now, the good thing about Geomancer is all his damage comes from the reflecting of the boss's damage. So if you don't build him with damage, it's not the end of the world. You can, in a case like this, we're going to have to build Geomancer with a lot of HP and very low defense, so he gets nuked down very low, so the boss starts to target him very early on, which is fine. And then with the lack of damage, he's not going to be healing himself very much at all with his passive, or with his masteries rather. So we can get away with something like this. Now, What I would probably do is I would prioritize the burn because we can. You could leave that A2 up. Every once in a while, we'll steal the attack buff. So not the end of the world if we do. So that can come in handy there. We'll leave it as is. And then just to look, we're going to ignore kind of this first round is just setup round. And then we're going to come really focus on here this turn 3. So if you see, Geomancer here is not consistently, so it's actually turn 9 before it looks like we hit sync. Although it only takes us really 3 turns of setup, which we would have to auto this turn 2 to get that A1 on Painkeeper. Otherwise, it's pretty much full auto after that. We're going to get some nukes out. We're going to get some hits out. Here, we really need to focus on turn 9 when we can go to full auto, or we can be in sync. So as you see here, I need Geomancer's burn up on this A2. So what we're going to do is just change the delay on the burn so that I see A3 on the first turn after the stun. So right, we see A3, 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 all the way down, so we know that Geomancer is going to place that burn here. The good thing is the boss will hit you twice. The boss will hit you twice. So as long as that burn is out, you're actually doing maximum amount of damage. You don't actually care to hit the boss with Geomancer on this turn. Now the benefit is Painkeeper's using that refresh, which simulates Geomancer going on this turn so that he gets his skills back up, which is why this team works well and why Geomancer can work as the stun eater. In saying that, we also have Martyr. So we want Martyr's A2, which is her counterattack, to constantly be going up on this first turn after the burn. And again, as you see, A2, 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 and it works. So that works, I think, because Martyr technically prioritizes, if I'm not mistaken, that A3. No, it's on a 4-turn cooldown. If we cancel out this, it still works. Ah, that's why it works. Okay, so Martyr actually, so if you look at it, if we made Martyr 188 speed, where Fane sits, Martyr would actually be going before that Painkeeper's A3, and so Martyr would actually not be in sync. So we need Martyr to come at 180, and this is why the calculator is so important, that we need Martyr right there to be at 180 speed, so she goes right after Painkeeper. So her counterattack, her A2, is actually up on this turn. And then Painkeeper is going to lower the turn meter by 1, which basically means it's not doing anything because it's already up, right? And so Martyr's going to counterattack here. The Maneater will then put up the Unkillable. And so everybody would have ally counterattack here. So boss will hit you, everyone will counterattack. Then we're going to go, Maneater's is going to be the only one on the second turn to drop that counterattack. And this is why Maneaters with these defense masteries are important. So at least they can get that extra counterattack when an ally is hit or their HP drops below 25%, I should say. So hopefully at that point. Now, what we want to do here is everyone's going to use their standard skills, but Painkeeper is going to go ahead and use that heal right before the stun turn. So the hope is we're going to push everyone's heal up, and because Geomancer has the highest HP and the lowest defense, the Geomancer is actually going to be healed for that little bit more than everybody else, and the boss is going to be kind of directing its focus to Geomancer. Now, the second thing is we're going to put Geomancer in the lead because we don't really care for Martyr to have the decreased defense passive out, because that lowers our damage, and we don't care because we're going to be unkillable the whole time. So we are going to just put Geomancer in the lead, and Geomancer gives an all battle HP aura. And by putting him in the lead and by tuning his HP and his defense so that he becomes a stun eater, we're basically telling the boss, go ahead, fair game. Now the struggle is going to become when the boss goes magic on affinity. It's going to turn to look to martyr or feign in this case. So what we might have to do is tweak, and the easiest thing to do really is to have 2 stun eaters. One, in our case, we have 2 spirit and 1 force. So we almost want a second force affinity to take it away from Geomancer. Or a second, or a third, I should say, spirit affinity to take it away from Feign or Martyr. Now, if you think about it, Annex would be perfect, right? If you think about it, though, if the boss is magic, we have Geomancer is going to replace Feign in a case like that, right? So we're going to have Geomancer that will always be doing counterattack damage, plus he'll be strong affinity, so he'll be doing more damage. Martyr's just there for the counterattacks. And then what we're going to do is we're going to be putting another magic champion. And this is where a Occult Brawler is so good, because Brawler will place, when he gets a turn, a poison on the boss, and it's 60%, but he places it. So he doesn't need to, if he weak hits, it doesn't matter. And that's why Occult Brawler is a good champion for a mix like this. So we'll just have to play around with it. We'll work with this for now. And then, of course, we'll come back tomorrow and then we'll see how we can tweak this team. So this is what I think we're going to work with. Let's get back to the game and let's start breaking down some champions. All right. So we're looking about 4 hours later, not getting the team to work. I pulled Martyr out of the team, although she's a better option. I got to work with the defense. We got to get Painkeeper and Geomancer up to 60. And once we can do that, I think we can put Martyr back in the team. But at this point, I got Skull Crusher, who also does ally attack, just not on himself. And, does counterattack, but also an ally attack. So because of that, we're not putting that increased defense on Geomancer. He should still take the stun. At the end of the day, to be honest, either one of these two taking the stun might be okay, but because Skull Crusher has the passive to be unkillable. So at the end of the day, either one. I just couldn't get Skull Crusher low enough with Painkeeper being only 50. I can't get Painkeeper's defense and HP where it needs to be without that banner. So it is what it is. Let's try this run out and see what happens. We're still going to go on the same setup. So A3 to start. Painkeeper is going to open with the A1. Okay. Now Banshee's going to go. Martyr should be doing the counterattack, so let's get it up. Geomancer A2. Maneater A2. Painkeeper heal. Okay, now everyone's going to counter. We still got that slow out. Okay, so let's see what happens here. So A1 again. We're going to hold off on that. We're going to use that stun. Or that burn. So he took the first stun, which is good. Refresh. And okay. So Painkeeper should be going. are going... We're going to hold off on this. Okay, so Painkeeper should have gone with the heal there. So she's still delayed by a turn. Let's see if we catch up. Gatekeeper still protected, which is, or Geomancer is. So Maneater A1, Banshee should be going. Painkeeper should have gone. Maneater A3. Alright, let's see if we go back into turn. All right, so that actually worked. Go figure. That was the issue. So let's go with this round just to make sure. Banshee. Gonna go with the counter. Painkeeper. So we are actually out of turn slightly. So at the end of the day, whatever happens, happens. We just want to see if we're going to make it to 50 turns. And do more than 20 million. Okay, so Banshee A3, Painkeeper A1. See, Geomancer should have gone. Maneater should have gone. Okay, so we are kind of out of turn. Let's see what happens. So Painkeeper to heal, Banshee, Maneater. We should not have countered, but that's because we were out of whack. A1, stun on Geo. Are we finally in turn? Let's try it one more time. All right, so before we were doing 20 mil with the full team per key, and now Geomancer alone did 20 mil. So this is how amazing Geomancer is. Now, can we optimize this? Absolutely. Geomancer's at a slow speed, not necessarily an issue, but we're losing out on an attack with Geomancer, but at the end of the day, he's not really built for damage. There's almost no masteries on anybody. They all need to get finished. War Master on Maneater and so on. Skull Crusher did end up dying at turn 48. Not the end of the world. We still got to 50 without him. I think it was because when he did take a stun and I did delay by a turn or two, it ended up working out. So on that third turn when the boss is about to stun, Skull Crusher ended up putting up the counter attack. Because of that, he puts out a one-turn Unkillable on himself. So it ended up working out fine, except for some reason towards the end, he didn't put it on himself. And I think it was because there was a turn missed and skipped, and it constantly pushes that Unkillable. But, I mean, look at the damage. Maneater, Painkeeper, they are not. They're just built to be the right speed, the right HP, the right defense on Painkeeper, the right speed on Maneater. 100% we can optimize this. We need better gear. We need better glyphs. But at the end of the day, I think, this is a 2-key team, which is pretty awesome. The trick here, you have to kill this on affinity, because when the boss hits you, it hits you twice per nuke. So on that first turn in the round, it's hitting you twice. On Void, it only hits you once. So you have twice as much chance at counterattacking, twice as much chance at proccing that Giant Slayer passive. So that is why Geomancer actually needs to be, or why you need to hit affinity. Skullcrusher only worked because of affinity, and because of that decreased defense. When we look to move this to any other affinity, we're going to need to get Geomancer up, and we're going to need a different stun target. Because ideally, if Martyr is in there with the high defense, and we can get a different Stun Eater. So for example, if we are on Magic Affinity, we are going to need Geomancer to be the main damage dealer. Martyr will be the main damage dealer. Those two are not going to ever change. And all we are really doing is substituting our Stun Eater. So high HP, low defense as best as possible. And this is why an attack-based champion is the best. Because a defense-based champion, we can do stack attack on it. And that's kind of what you have to do to make it work. Same with an HP-based champion. You can't stack attack on it. It's useless. But what else are you going to do? So ideally an attack-based champion that is Spirit. If you're going to have a magic boss. So that way Martyr and this champion is the same. You're going to put that champion in the lead. And then you're also going to have a team that has a force-based champion as the Stun Eater. Obviously not Skullcrusher. But somebody else that will be the Stun Eater. Very low defense, very high HP, and they have to be Force. So Force, Spirit will be the two Stun Eaters that we're going to be looking towards and looking for. And the team will work. Alrighty? So there you have it. It can work. There's a 2-key team on Ultra Nightmare. Again, Geomancer did as much damage as the previous team combined. So I think this is a viable team, a viable option. We talked about the boss being on Magic, so we need a new Stun Eater. We talked about the boss being on Spirit, so we need a new Stun Eater. If the boss is on Force, I would say use your Spirit affinity. If you want, you can have a third Stun Eater being Frozen Banshee, but really Spirit being in the lead, low or high HP, low defense. If the boss is on Force, and you will be fine. So that's what we got right now. This is what we got. We're going to tweak this and optimize it, but there you have it. An awesome team in itself. Very tricky to deal with. It is by far one of the trickiest teams to set up. One of the more challenging ones because of the stats, and it made it more challenging because we're dealing with level 50 champs. But we made it to 40 turns, or 50 turns. All right, we'll catch you all in the next video. Take care.